Air Marshal Anil Khosla, who is a fighter pilot with the Indian Air Force. He has held various posts, lastly being the Vice Chief of the Indian Air Force. He has commanded 2 major air bases and handled key air combat operations in the past decade. He also has varied experience of integrated defense of deployment of air power along with the Army and Navy. He has wide experience in defense technology and innovation and has worked with leading military and civilian scientific establishments and in defense production. Air Marshal Khosla. I am doing this so that others can come and say it. Thank you. Vice Admiral Narayan Prasad is the next panelist. He is an engineering officer of the Indian Navy. He has held various important positions in the Indian Navy, including operations, staff, dockyard, and strategic projects. He has been Chief Technical Officer, Eastern Naval Command, and Assistant Chief of Material Nuclear Systems Maintenance, Indian Navy. He is credited with construction of a nuclear submarine and other submarines, and is now serving as the Managing Director of India's biggest dockyard, the Mazagon Docks Shipbuilders Limited. The next speaker, or the next panelist, is Mr. Aaron Starks, CEO of 47G Utah Aerospace and Defense. He has various roles across industry, including the World Trade Center, Utah. Mr. Starks holds an MBA degree from Duke University. He must be having lunch, he'll come. Don't worry. Okay, this is basically I've jumped the gun so that panelists can come here. The next 3 panelists, I regret to say that I don't have too much of details of them. I will request them to introduce themselves when they are starting off their presentations. The next speaker is Mr. Vignesh Manoharan of Mano Aircraft. I'm sorry, I don't know too much about it. So when you start off, please give a small introduction about yourself. The next panelist is Professor Govind Kidambi. Again, same thing, sir. I will request you to introduce yourself when you're starting off. And the last speaker, I've got a number of speakers with me. The last speaker is Mr. Shivaji Jammal Madugu. He is a civilian sales officer with Indrajal. I'll request him also, please come forward. He has been kind enough to be told last night and he has come here today. From Hyderabad, grateful. Okay, I think we might begin now. I think most of the people have sat down. Hold it, Arun. I have to dandora pitna hai mera aapka. The chair today is Lieutenant General Arun Sani. Arun Sani is my coursemate and he was the Sword of Honor. He passed out first in the Order of Merit in our course. We were together in the riding team, but he won't remember that because I left in the 3rd term itself. And he's an excellent golfer. He has varied experience in operational, diplomatic and instructional appointments. He was commissioned into a self-propelled regiment and he commanded the same self-propelled artillery regiment. for those who don't know about it. He has represented India as a military delegate at UN headquarters at Geneva for the international conference debating banning of landmines. He has trained with the British Army for a year and has been the defense attaché in the Indian Embassy at Moscow. He also has a wide experience in defense technology, including information technology and security. Currently, he is a strategic defense advisor to Tata Advanced Systems, the defense manufacturing constituent of India's oldest conglomerate, the Tata Group. I should also mention the Tata Advanced Systems, thanks to him, is the major contributor or major sponsor for us for today's event. Thank you very much. Over to General Arun Sani.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, a big thanks and a round of applause for all those who are sitting here, because on a Saturday afternoon to get anybody to come down into a forum requires either two ways to do it. The military way of having somebody sitting there with a gun, and the other is that you actually are interested in being here. So thank you in either case. Welcome to get you back again for the post-lunch session. Let me start by saying two things. The first is never ask a general to come and speak, especially on a Saturday afternoon, because they're all so terribly, I would say, verbose, suffer from verbal diarrhea, and when you've got a captive audience, I'm sorry you guys have had it. So there's always a problem on the stage. The second thing, of course, is you get them in a congregate of people who are intellectually empowered, who are technically experts in their own domain, and then you find that I have nothing best to do but then to talk about generic things, and I can't count stars out here. But then that's why I decided I'd make a big, huge script. And this is, of course, to scare you. I decided I don't want to speak. But more importantly, let me just put it in context, realizing the richness of the debate that we've had in the earlier two sessions. I think the job of the moderator, instead of being the main man who's trying to impart knowledge, I would say it is better to leave it to the experts and let's listen in to them, to what they have to share with us. As I said, I've been a bit fortunate. I've spent 40 years in the Army, so that was one of the greatest organizations that you can have in the anywhere in the universe. It goes for the Air Force and Navy as well. I've got some very good friends there. but the second thing was that when I transited out of uniform and now in my re-attired avatar, I've had this privilege to be with the Tata Group, and what an amazing journey it is, because some of the values and ethics that they imbibe and that they pursue relentlessly is something what comes naturally to all of us who wore uniforms and have been part of organized, disciplined organizations. So I'm delighted on both counts to be here today as the moderator. What do I say? I think all partnerships are based on mutual trust and respect. And I think the Indo-US relationship over a period of time, and actually the shortest period of time, has really matured to great extents. Where you started off with the DTTI in 14-15 to these various agreements that we had, the Limovas, the Sismovas, they have been path-breaking. We didn't understand the value of it. But when I look at it, when we did the Sismova agreement in about 2016, it finally permitted the aircrafts that we had to be able to utilize the radio sets and equipment and encrypted material which was being utilized by the original things in the US Air Force. So I mean, that was a path-breaking thing. It changed the dimension of our communication capabilities within the Air Force and with their capability to be able to interact with each other in the air in different platforms. I think the next best thing that happened was the strategic trade agreement, which was in 2018. I think it allowed US and Indian firms to participate in the tenders in each other's country. I think, so these a large amount of small steps, but I think what really turned around is this great relationship at the apex leadership of the political hierarchy of both countries. And that chemistry has really emanated into seeing the G414 come in record time, passing through the biggest hurdle of the United States, that the IIRF regulations. And if you've crossed that hurdle, thank you very much, you get Congress approval. So I think this all happened in record time, about 8 months, which is remarkable. And when I compare this to the AUKUS, which was signed about 3 years back, the Australians are still waiting for anything to start happening because it hasn't even gone for the congressional approval as far as the sharing of technologies is concerned. So I think why I highlighted that today, having Utah sitting here with us, who actually are resident to a huge aerospace and defense sector, there is a great amount of depth in what they shared with us about the environment that they are in, with their intentions to engage. And it's great to hear in the last session that we had, and I'm sure in this current session we'll hear, is to be able to see the opportunities that exist, and those opportunities will fructify because the regulatory authorities will be supportive of this kind of action that is going to happen. So that's where I would leave it as far as that is concerned. The other aspect that I want to just quickly share, you go on the net and you look at the future military technologies. All of us are aware of it, and a lot has been spoken about it. But I would say, how do I see the US support required really in the areas where we are looking at emerging and niche technology? Space is the newest environment that we've really gone into. So whether you're looking at space-based assets, you're looking at the sensors, you're looking at the electro-optical devices, you're looking at the methodology of communication interfaces, you're looking at the ground control centers, and as you're aware, there is out about a 50-odd list has been put now in the open domain where the armed forces, starting from the Defense Space Agency to the 3 services, have already flagged Make 1 and Make 2 projects. So I think space is a great area. We are still, I would say, novices in this area as far as India is concerned. It remained in the domain of ISRO, but there's a lot of areas where the ecosystem has to develop, where there is a great amount of collaboration, and with the kind of companies that you have in Utah and the kind of brainpower that we have here in India, I'm sure that's the right path to go ahead. The second area which I would like to flag is electronic warfare and radar technology. These are areas which would be of interest. So all those who are looking at it, I think, would be of great utilization to all of us who are in the uniformed forces. Smart ammunitions. We've been talking with people who want to get in the Excalibur, but as will happen with any of these great equipments and technologies that are there, it'll have to be a collaborative effort with companies within India. Some in the MSME space, some with the corporate leaders and the corporate houses, which actually have the capability for industrialization, scalability, and for marketing and for business engagement, with their larger footprint and deeper pockets to be able to carry that out. I think the other area where I would like to flag is air defense systems. I think air defense systems is an area where there's a lot that needs to be done. Whatever we've done, and today when you look at the Russia-Ukraine war, I think the greatest challenge has been the capability of the air defense, the resilience and the jugaad and the innovativeness to be able to tackle these new age threats that came out. Suddenly these small, potent weapon systems has actually changed and impacted. So there is a great area related to all aspects of air defense. And when you're looking at it, we talked about something we saw in the last one where the last speaker had spoken about the system that have created for a simulator for the air defense systems. I think there is a lot today with VR, AR, STEs coming in. There's a large canvas of development that is required. Zen Technologies was there in an area in space, but I think training and training simulators is an area which requires tremendous amount of opening and growth, and would be an area which would be of interest on both sides of the fence. Specifically 4 issues or 5 issues which I would say with my little experience where I would look at with my, in this new domain that I've had in my retired avatar. SAR, synthetic aperture radars of very high resolution that can be mounted on LEO satellites and aircraft. I think LEO satellites is the area that we are going. This is an area where you would look at. You would look at mobile ad hoc networks capability in the SDR space, both handheld, vehicle mounted. There's a lot that is happening here, but there is a lot that needs to be happening to be able to take it for an indigenized Make in India effort. You've got the naval gun systems that come out, which require the stabilizers, the high velocity projectiles. Those are areas where there would be great resonance to get in. Smart ammunition, as I said, air defense systems, of course, and high speed, secure air to ground and back data links, which we require. So the area of communication, EW, space, all assets, air defense are areas where we should really be looking at. Please look at what these aggregators have done here, both the IDEX and now the Indus initiative that has taken place, along with their joint impact challenges that they have flagged. Those are the areas where you will straight away get governmental support, which have been flagged in the recent conference that have been done. So those impact challenges have been co-jointedly put across by the US and by the Indian hierarchy. So those are the areas where there could be greater resonance. May I just end by saying it's a very bright horizon that lies ahead, and I think the entrepreneurial skills, the capacity of the Indian mind to be able to parallel thinking and be the people who can actually think in different planes simultaneously is a great strength that comes out, and that's why you find all the innovation hubs of any of the biggest players of the world are all located in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So I think there's great strength, and I think both for Utah and for us, there is a great path that we can tread ahead. May I, with that end, and straight away request our first speaker. We are all behind time, so I think time is not really something which I can look at, but I would request everybody to try and keep his remarks between 8 to 10 minutes maximum, so that we would end in a sensible time, so that you guys can go and have your Saturday night drink after the next session. So may I now invite Mr. Vikas Khita, Vice President and Head Corporate Office of L&T Defense, Larsen & Toubro, to please share his views. We should congratulate them because they just about signed 2 big contracts here. They made a hell of a lot of money before the end of this financial year. So over to you, Vikas. That's your area.
Thank you very much, sir, for those remarks. You also made my task a little easier. Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, good afternoon. I am Vikas Khita. What I'll try and do, this is a slightly heavy presentation, so I'll skip a few slides and in the interest of time. Yeah. So I was told this morning that as the Utah delegation traveled through India, I believe you touched Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. Incidentally, all those airports were built by us. So can I have the next slide, please? So before you think that we are a purely construction company, so I'm just giving you a snapshot of what the group is. We are 23 billion US in annual revenues. We're 85 years old, a diversified conglomerate, operate in 65 countries. It's a fully public ownership, so we don't have a promoting family or interests otherwise. So next slide, please. I'll come straight on to what we do in the defense vertical. So these are the main sub-verticals within our defense business. The videos are self-explanatory. There are a couple of aspects which are not reflected here. They include cybersecurity and a few other things that are still in development. Next slide, please. So just a snapshot. We have 5 manufacturing locations in India and 3 shipyards. Next slide, please. A lot has been talked about space. I thought I'd just mention L&T has had the privilege of being a development cum production partner to both the DRDO and the Indian Space Research Organization for 50 years each. My seniors tell me that L&T was working on rockets and rocket motors when even scientific calculators were not available in India. Next slide, please. So within the missiles and aerospace business, this is just a snapshot of the business units. And I won't go into details of the products and all. The veterans here. There's Mr. Sachs, the world heavyweights in aviation. But just give you an idea of some of the things that we have worked on and continue to work on. Next slide, please. In the space domain, our strength, I mean, we started with launch vehicles. We've grown. Chandrayaan 3 was something that we had to put in a lot of effort into. So it's only the liquid propellant stage which was not done by us. So that is with our consortium partner, HAL. Otherwise, in every other aspect, we've had a major role to play. Next slide, please. Launch vehicles. We've in fact worked with every single rocket that India has launched. So I'll just leave it there and continue to work on the next generation launch vehicles. Next slide. So the picture on the right side gives you a sense of the areas which are our core competence in launch vehicles. We also, apart from that, we also do other work, but that's where the core competence lies. The picture on top, the areas in blue, so may not be very visible at the back. That gives you a graphic representation of our origins in space. So that's how we started, and this is where we have moved now. Next slide. We are also into satellite systems, but there are specialist organizations, some of them startups. I'd heard a previous speaker who was associated with IDEX lament that the majors, Tatas and L&Ts also need to incubate startups, but I think IDEX team is unaware that both Tatas and L&T have a very solid and rigorous program of startup incubation. So I don't know the numbers, but I'm told it's around 300 startups each. So on the satellite systems, we have been doing some work. The OneWeb, which was launched about 8 months ago, so that was us. So next slide. We do a whole lot of work on the ground network stations, deep space telescopes, and the like. So next slide. Please keep moving the slides fast. We need to save time. So we are compliant with all the certifications. We have been in discussions with the Blue Origin of the US to help the US build its next space station. I do not know where matters stand today, because the whole lot of subjects have to be covered between the governments as well, apart from finance. Next slide. Just a snapshot of our facilities which are dedicated to the missiles and aerospace business. The images that you see below are they're difficult to machine elements, titanium, tungsten, etc. Next slide. So we also do wings for some of the light combat aircraft, and that is the image that you see here, center, the wings. That's for the Tejas. Next slide. Move on. This is tooling, design and development. So I was referring to the wings for the Tejas. So those are done by us. Actually, if the US majors do decide to partner with the Indian private sector, you would find that a large part of the infrastructure already exists in India, and the skills. Next slide, please. For ISRO, we also do some work on the critical alloy structures. So this is representative, it's not comprehensive. Next slide. And we have the requisite test facilities to test out these systems before they are put out to the launch pad. Unmanned systems. There is a part that I'm not speaking about right now, because we will make a corporate announcement shortly. But what's in the public domain? There is a target UAV which was pioneered. It was jointly developed between us and DRDO. It's been sold in quite a few countries. And this we can move fast. We can move fast because it's just a snapshot of the target UAV that's been. Next slide. We've also been doing work for IAI Israel, but in keeping with the Indian philosophy of preserving peace and not contributing to ongoing conflicts, ever since the Gaza conflict, so we've had to cut back. Next slide, please. So just a snapshot of the facilities that we have. So this is at Coimbatore. These facilities are at Coimbatore. Next slide, please. So we do have the, next slide, the necessary. So Tejas, I had earlier mentioned only about the composites, the wings. Apart from that, we have a specialized avionics setup, which is here in Bangalore. So just an idea of the systems that we have developed and supply for the Tejas. We are also the exclusive partner to HAL for certain programs. This is one of them. This I'll have to really run through. Land systems, it's not of much interest to the Utah delegation, but just gives you an idea of what Indian industry capabilities are. Let me start by saying we've just developed a light tank in 24 months. And this was in the news, and thank you. Thank you. And I was told this morning by General Khandare that this is the first time in the world that such a thing has happened. Next slide, please. This is the famous Pinaka multi-barrel launcher system. It's in use now, not just in India, but in quite a few other countries, with extended range, with guided precision missiles and the works. Next slide. That's the K9 Vajra, another product which has gone on rather well with the Indian Armed Forces. We're hoping to receive a repeat order for this now, and doing well. This is the K9 Vajra. The current barrel comes from Hanwha, so it was, and as volumes grow, then we will have to somewhere comply with the Make in India regulation. This was one of the orders that we closed yesterday that General Sahni had alluded to, the close-in weapon system. Very effective. There was international competition and also competition from DRDO. And these are bridging systems. They are not just in use in military requirements, but of late also for disaster management. So, and climate change has really put these systems to use now. And it's not just in India, but also in a few other countries. We also do some work in the military communications domain. Here again, I'll be a little restricted. I'm not in a position to open up the entire portfolio in this audience. But we are at the forefront of technology. That's all I can say for now. And we also do a fair bit of work in cybersecurity. So just a snapshot of the equipment and the systems. We've also been exporting some of this to friendly countries. Next slide, please. Naval systems, the less I speak, Admiral is here from MDL, so they're the big bosses in the naval domain, but we try and give them some competition when we are unable to collaborate. Next slide, please. So, on the naval platform, we have three main units. So one is the naval weapons systems. Admiral had spoken of a couple of them just now in his address. They're here. There are, apart from that, we build warships and submarines. Next slide. So that's, so you'd spoken about the naval air defense gun. So that's the Tivra 40. Yeah. Next slide, please. You'd also mentioned certain systems in the naval domain. Some of them are here. Right. Next slide, please. Apart from that, we have the platform management system and the degaussing system and the power generation and distribution systems. So these are in use in a number of warships. Next slide, please. This is the anti-submarine warfare suite. Next slide. We've also developed certain unmanned naval systems. Representative range is here. As we speak, trials for 2 of them have been successful. The third is yet to reach the stage of trials. That's a snapshot of our shipbuilding. We had recently were in the news for doing 12 warships for a friendly country. We're hoping for a repeat order now on that. We've also been doing some work for the US Navy. That's repairs and refitting of 3. We've already done 3 US warships. This is from our shipyard at Kattupalli, that's off Chennai. We had signed a master service repair agreement with the US. I won't speak too much about the the submarine platform. It's a strategic area. The P75I is a program where we appear to have been in competition with MDL. So we'll see, we'll talk about that offline sometime. The air independent propulsion system is something that we've been working on in partnership with DRDO. That would also fully be fitted onto the submarines that MDL is making presently. And the last one, the SOV, next slide please, the SOV 400, that's Special Operations Vessel. So that's our own IPR at an advanced stage of development now, advanced stage of design now. So the broad parameters are there. It's modular in design, can carry a special operations crew and crew plus special operations personnel, totally about 20 people, and can be fitted with torpedoes. Radars, next slide please. Just a snapshot of the kind of radar systems that we have. I already had spoken of the space, the radars used in space. So these are the ones in use for military purposes. Next slide, please. Can you go back to the previous slide? So the bottom left, the high power radar is the other contract that was closed yesterday. So that's again for the Indian Air Force. Yeah, please go on. We also offer and have provided the coastal radar system for a few countries, and this is going to be the requirement in the Indo-Pacific with the geopolitics. Next slide, please. The point that I was making throughout is, on one hand we have these geopolitics, on the other hand you have smaller players using relatively crude technology to overwhelm rather sophisticated systems. And the cost of warfare is now increasingly important. So you can't have a sustainable scenario where you use a $1 million missile to down a few $1,000 drone. So the US industry is increasingly going to need low-cost solutions. So Indian industry brings scale, agility to the table. And we might actually find ourselves in a scenario where entire design and manufacturing may have to be redone. Right? So current situation is that the US defense industry has direct relationships with Government of India. So the Indian private sector effectively is bypassed. And the Indian private sector does not have access to the US defense market, so you basically are not in collaboration, you are in competition. So I'll leave you with this thought and perhaps what needs to be done to overcome this. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think the reason we changed that, he's got to catch a flight at 4 o'clock, so he's be here for some time and then leave from here. Gentlemen, I think after the first session that we had, you looked at how the small and medium industry space and the ecosystem in the defense space has come up. Like all other big countries, India itself has these big 5 or 6 major companies who are dealing all across the fence. So today, when I just mentioned before I invite, and I thought before I get the Air Marshal to come and speak and share, just as a matter of interest, he was the Vice Chief of Air Staff when we actually did the strikes across the border, and so you can always catch him offline after that to hear how that was happened and how that was articulated. But more importantly, just let me put it also now, when he spoke about aerospace and defense, the Tata's itself has been the first private player who's come into aerospace and defense. We make elements for the C-130, we make for the C-17, we make the Pilatus, the complete equipment here, we make for the Apache helicopter, the undercarriage is done by them. We are now going to do the C-295, and we've also got, as it stands today, the GE engine, the LEAP engine, which goes into both Boeing and Airbus. At least 30% of that is being done, manufactured here, which has gone into the indigenized IPRs of the Tatas itself. So that's a large area. We are into UAVs. There's loiter munitions, both for the Air Force, for the other areas. So there's a lot of space that is there. So if you're looking at, from what I could see from Utah, if you're looking at the big players, there are enough big industries who can come in and who can do the hand-holding. If you're looking at the space of the startup, which you're also incubating, and you said there's large number of startups, which the bigger players are doing themselves, that's another space where you can link up. So the equation can happen both sides, both at the top level, at the bottom level, and the government now is open to having the larger players doing a direct one-on-one engagement and bypass the DPSUs, as is the case as far as the C-295 is concerned. Okay, with that, may I now request Air Marshal Anil Khosla to please come and share his views. Being the ex-Vice Chief of Air Staff, a very cerebral officer, great fighter pilot, but more importantly, he's moved into this domain of where he can share his experiences to ensure and put the people who are serving today, like us, who are outside now, to support people to get them in the right direction as far as the Army and the Air Force requirements are concerned. Over to you, Anil, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Chair, for the kind words and giving me this opportunity. And thank you to IIRF for giving me this chance to interact with the intellectuals and the dons of the military industry from USA as well as from India. I feel honored and privileged. So time-wise, I don't think you will have any grievances with me. I have to catch a flight again. So I put my timer on to 8 minutes. It'll give me the warnings. And we have already actually gone into one-to-one as far as the industry is concerned. So I'm not working for any industry, so I'm not going to sell any product or... so my talk will be generally, actually it was supposed to be in session 1, would have set the pace of the seminar. So mine is a very, very broad-based engagement, and of course what I'll do is I will tag a few issues related to what is changing in the world and leading on to how it is affecting India, especially defense, security, and capability building. I've been involved with the Indian Air Force capability building for quite a few years, especially in the higher ranks, and leading on to why India is doing what it is doing now as far as procurements are concerned and indigenization is concerned. And also later on suggesting some common mutual areas. General has already brought out a few where we can collaborate with each other, and also bring out a few aspects of how to approach the collaboration. I will just tag issues because a very learned audience. I will not go into lengthy explanations as such. So what is happening at the moment as far as the Indo-US defense collaboration is concerned? If you see the Indian Air Force, we have inducted Chinooks, Apache, C-17, C-130, Navy has inducted P-8Is. Of course, we got Rafale from France, not in USA. And India is becoming slowly the largest defense market for USA. That is what is happening. And the shift is taking place from Russia to USA. Actually, day before yesterday, I was in a track 2 dialogue with Indo-Russia, and now I'm talking about Indo-US. So India is in the process of modernization and diversification at the moment. So Russian market is getting replaced by US, Israel, France, and the West generally, and Europe. A little bit I'll talk about why we got, when we needed after the independence in 1960 especially, we were pushed into the hands of Russians. That is when we needed modernization, that's when we needed equipment, that's when we needed platforms, that's when we needed weapons, and what was forthcoming, absolutely easy terms of engagement from Russia. The transfer of technology. Actually, it's a very unique model where aircraft like MiG-21 was licensed produced in India. No other country is likely to do it or willing to do it. So now what is happening is the second stage has come where India is in the process of need of, again, advanced technology, advanced weapon systems, platforms, weapons, smart weapons, because of the geopolitical situation and the threat which we are facing right now, a very, very belligerent and aggressive attitude from our adversary. So this is a second chance which has come, I think, opportunity which needs to be grabbed for collaboration. Another word about Russia, what happened was the ease of doing business is because most of the defense industry is governed by or controlled by the government. So it is G to G, which is much easier. And I can understand with USA, when we go in, most of the patents are owned by the private industry. So I think from G to G, we need to shift to P to P as far as Indo-US is concerned. Okay, just quick word about what is happening in the world. COVID-19 pandemic. What has it done? It has brought out the fault lines mistrust between various nations. Supply chain is the major issue which has been thrown up. The resilience or lack of resilience in the supply chain, this thing. Collective security is still valid, but needs a little bit of a reorientation. Globalization, I think reverse globalization is taking place because of the issues which I covered earlier, because of the pandemic and the wars which are going on, the Hamas and Israel, as well as the Ukraine-Russia war. Sort of a decoupling is happening with China, and as a result, most of the countries are going in for self-reliance. I feel this is a sort of a reverse globalization. The nature of warfare is changing totally. Instead of, pitched warfare, no contact warfare is going on. The gray zone warfare, which we talk about, absence of declared hostility doesn't mean there will not be a hostile action from the enemy. General brought out the space, cyber, electronic, information. These are the new domains of warfare. It's no longer related to military only. The normal public gets affected. Man-made disaster situations can arise anytime. We need to mitigate that. That's where we can collaborate. That's where collective security comes in with a changed scenario. As far as India's compulsions, you all are aware, we got two nuclear powered adversaries, and the attitude is totally changed at the moment. So that is why we need what we need at the moment. How India is dealing is with a multi-pronged approach. We are enhancing our military capability and capacity. We are trying to infuse technology into our defense forces and security apparatus. We are promoting self-reliance in various issues, not only in defense production, but in a much broader scale. We are trying to bring in military-civil synergy, multi-domain approach we are taking, and so that is where we are at the moment. Because of various compulsions, this is the approach we are taking. As far as Indo-US grabbing this opportunity is concerned and the way we need to approach, I'll just tag 3 or 4 issues. General talked about the trust, but somehow at the back of the mind, the past historical events do lead an iota of, I should say, trust issues. I think we need to address that. We have come a long way from there. Of course, we are now, our collaboration is going much higher, our cooperation is going much higher, but those trust issues I think we need to address, and which are being addressed positively. That's what my take is. The second is, we need platforms, weapons, equipment, systems, technology, and instead of looking at India as only a market, defense market, I think the approach should be to look at it as a collaborative partner. rather than only a defense market. I think that approach will be good for all of us. India has taken a lot of steps, the government has taken a lot of steps to infuse the defense industry. It has opened technical tech parks, private sector has been brought in, DPSUs have been reformed to make it more accountable and competitive, FDIs have been increased, small industry is being encouraged, R&D has been opened to private and public sector and to outsiders, DPP has been reviewed. I think this will make the ease of doing business much easier and much better. I think this opportunity should be grabbed. Self-reliance, as we call Atmanirbharta in this thing, joint ventures we are going in as far as the private and public industry in India, domestic is concerned as well as outside is concerned. Offset clause have been brought in, foreign collaborations have been going into. This is a big, big opportunity. I think we should grab it. Not only make in India, actually decoupling with China is taking place, and India can offer make for the world. It has all the wherewithal. It has the space, it has the infrastructure capability, it has the skilled manpower, and most important of all, it has the willingness. I think there is an opportunity here where the defense industry can move for manufacture into India and make for the world collaboratively. My alarm is going on, sir. So I will wind up if you give me 1 more minute. So I will quickly run through collaboration areas. As General had said, we have more collaboration areas, maritime domain awareness, combat terrorism together, HADR, supply chain, cyber security, space applications, info sharing, info warfare, narrative building, info sharing, gray zone disaster mitigation, freedom of navigation, joint R&D, joint development, technology sharing. As far as technology is concerned, enough has been talked about the technologies which are changing the war, air war, as well as the other wars are quantum, hypersonics, AI, robotics, nano, bio, unmanned platforms, anti-drone systems, networks, and semiconductor and chip industry. I think these are the areas where we can collaborate. As far as being a former Air Force officer, I don't think I'll be doing justice to my 40 years in the Indian Air Force if I don't bring out Indian Air Force point of view, the collaborative systems where we can work in. The world is working on 5th and 6th generation aircraft. We are trying to get our 5th generation aircraft. I think there is a collaboration chance there. Hypersonics weapons is the war of the future, weapons of the future. All countries are expanding. India has also demonstrated some sort of a platform. There is a scope for it. Engine technology is a big requirement at the moment for India. We are already talking about each other. The contract is likely to be signed, but how much of technology can be infused is not yet known. Unmanned platforms and is every domain, land, sea, water, underwater. And not only unmanned platforms, I think anti-drone systems the world is struggling with. That is one area where we need to work together. Sensors and seeker, metallurgy and composite simulators, LVC concept, that is live virtual and construct, EW platforms, space, cyber, smart weapons, AD system General already brought out. So I think these are the areas where we can this thing. So last 30 seconds, what is the way ahead? Understand the India's compulsions, the reasons and the requirements. Be a trusting partner. Instead of looking at it as a market, look at it as a collaborative partner. Empower India. Share technology, share information. We have so many agreements. BECA, LEMOA, COMCOA, we have got Indus, we have DTI, but how many collaborative projects are there? Very few. So we need to work on. The talk is going on between various ISR, space-based testing, sharing of testing facilities, AI-based systems, MROs, setting up MRO facilities. I hope these projects fructify and the Indo-US collaboration proceeds further in the right direction, in the right way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me patiently.
Anil, thank you very much. I know he's also got to catch a flight. So all those who've got to catch a flight, gentlemen, 10 minutes is your timeline. Okay, so may I just say two things which I loved what you talked about. I think there are a large number of smaller companies today in the US who are already in the space of hypersonic aircraft, hypersonic missiles. I mean, I was talking about, I think Hermes is the one which has built up a Mach 5 capability. For directed energy weapons, you've got some of these companies. I mean, those will be great areas for people sitting here to be able to engage with as joint ventures and collaborative efforts. And the other area, of course, robotics and autonomous systems, I think goes without saying. Robotics, we've done extremely well in India, but I think to get into the space of the ML data and being able to utilize the AI for getting them shape at the quality which is required at the top level is the area where there's a lot of scope for it. Thank you very much, Anil. With this, may I kindly request and invite Vice Admiral Narayan Prasad, CMD Mazikon Dock Shipbuilders, one of the premier shipbuilding other than L&T. I better be careful because we might have fights otherwise. So other than L&T and of course the others on the space. But thank you very much. Please over to you, sir.
Some of the senior functionaries I would be addressing may not be present in this particular forum, but I can't leave Dr. Ajay Kumar because he has been my former boss and he keeps a track of all these things, whether I addressed him or not. So Dr. Ajay Kumar, Defense Secretary, Government of India, Lieutenant General Khandare, Principal Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Defense, Government of India, Mr. Herbert Gary, former Governor, State of Utah, US, Mr. Guru Prasad Savle, International Advisor for India, World Trade Center Utah, President and co-founder IIRF Americas, Brigadier Sandeep Kumar, President IIRF India, and of course our own chair, Lieutenant General Arun Kumar, that he has already been introduced. Distinguished panelists, think tanks from both US and India, captains of the industries, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very vibrant good afternoon to all of you. At the very outset, let me thank the IIRF forums from both India and the US to organize this watershed conclave on the Indo-US Collaboration in trade technologies, aerospace and defense, aimed at harnessing the strength of the Indo-US defense and aerospace ecosystem by exploiting the power of technology and innovation. The US-India defense relationships have evolved from buyer-sellers interactions to a collaborative partnership through defense exports, co-development and co-production. This enhances defense capabilities and bolsters strategic alignment with both nations poised to shape the future of defense cooperation, contributing to regional stability and security. The current emphatic drive by the Government of India on Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India initiatives with concurrent favorable policies and financial allocations and with promulgation of broad positive indigenization list have catalyzed defense manufacturing and co-production initiatives involving joint manufacturing of defense equipment in India, combining US technologies with the Indian manufacturing capabilities, which has a potential to accelerate defense industrial cooperation exponentially. The Government of India, as you all are aware, has set a target of achieving USD 5 billion in defense exports by 2025, which is currently pegged at approximately 2 billion USD right now, which directly indicates the potential and opportunities for collaborative indigenous defense manufacturing. Presently, there already exists significant collaboration in India by the American companies such as BAE Systems, Boeing, Honeywell, L3 Harris, Lockheed Martin, Collins Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, Raytheon, Smith, Trimble, and General Electric, etc. Hailing from the Indian Navy and being a former chairman and managing director of the premier defense PSU shipyard of the country, namely Mazikon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, Mumbai, presently engaged in the construction of guided missile destroyers, stealth frigates, and conventional submarines for the Indian Navy. I will express my views on the opportunities in the maritime defense segment. India presently has 7 major shipyards in public and private sector domain located on both east and west coast of the country, engaged in the construction of aircraft carrier, destroyers, stealth frigates, submarines, fleet support ships, ASW corvettes, offshore patrol vessels, shallow water craft, fast attack craft, and so many more. On the commercial front, construction of multi-purpose support vessels, ice class vessels, and various types of yard crafts are also in progress. Now, besides, these shipyards also present a massive capacity for undertaking maintenance and deep level overall repairs of the platform and the equipment which are fitted on board. The additional capacity available in the Indian shipyards for the construction of platforms such as destroyers, stealth frigates, offshore patrol vessels, in accordance with a shared design and equipment fit, weapons and sensors with reduced build period, and most importantly, significant cost advantage, could be well harnessed by the US Navy and the Coast Guard. Now, this was deliberated by me with the Chief of Naval Operations, US Navy, during his last visit to MDL, which was in 2021. While the native US laws, which is called Jones Act, prohibit such construction outside US mainland, such construction can be considered for vessels required for foreign berthing, such as those which are berthed at Singapore, Philippines, etc. Now, besides constructions of cobalt fuel tanker, contractor built, operated, and leased tankers can be considered in India. And why I'm talking about that, whilst the Jones Act prohibit constructions outside their mainlands, but the construct of leased vessels are very much permissible, and that is what needs to be showcased. Now, this was discussed between me and the visiting CNO in my office in great details, and I requested him, either you change your US laws, which can give you a huge cost advantage, because presently at the aftermath of COVID, all the shipyards in US are stressed, and with such stringent engagements which are taking in in Pacific kind of an environment, all their vessels are heavily stressed. Now, there's a requirement for renewal of these particular vessels, so until these rule positions are changed, they will not be able to cope up with the constructions which are required for their own rehabilitation. Now, whilst maintenance programs for US auxiliary support vessels at L&T shipyard, Katopalli at MDL Mumbai have commenced, even the weapon and sensor sensitive US platforms could be considered for maintenance and overall repairs in Indian shipyards with adequate safety and security protocol. I would just like to draw your attention, at some point of time we got this info that the US Coast Guard needs about 22 offshore patrol vessels. And I was just reading through my Naval Attaché Washington, what is the costing which they have done. You would be surprised to find that for a similar kind of a build in India, with all the shipyards, the 4 defense PSU shipyard, L&T, Cochin shipyard, all of them have built patrol vessels, offshore patrol vessels. The cost of construction in India apparently works out to just about half the cost of construction, sometimes even cheaper than that. So this option I had extended to him. Of course, he just smiled at me and he says, let's take the first small step in terms of extending the maintenance profile, which is already in progress right now. The main propulsion gas turbines, LM2500, ex General Electric, already have significant presence in the Indian Navy, whilst assembly of knockdown kits of such gas turbine at HAL Bangalore and subsequent testbed trials are presently underway for meeting requirements of the Indian Navy, which are required for our ongoing construction. 7 in number stealth frigates called Project 17 Alpha They are the stealth frigates, the future generation platforms for the Indian Navy. Now, we need not only the knockdown kit assembly and test bed trials, the transfer of certain key technologies and joint production could be a very, very strong signal towards joint collaboration with larger business potential. Collaboration towards indigenous production of certain critical equipment such as electric propulsion motor for submarine, gearboxes, shafting, controllable pitch and fixed pitch propellers for surface ships, fuel cells, lithium-ion batteries, etc., hold huge potential from both commercial and technological considerations. Whilst concluding myself, I would draw your attention by stating 4 areas that turn out to be the unique selling point of the Indian maritime industry, comprising of shipyards and the ancillary industry base. 1, it is filled with relatively cheap, trained, skilled and educated workforce, fairly strong indigenous ancillary industry, strategic location of the Indian peninsula, and conducive government policies and ecosystem for setting up collaborations in India. All the Indian shipyards and the industry majors are willing for meaningful win-win collaboration with the US Navy, US Coast Guards, US shipyards, and the industry partners, and we look forward to foster a long-term partnership between both the sides aimed at our common shared interest in countering terrorism, ensuring maritime security, and ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Thank you very much.
Admiral, as I said, though it's a tongue-in-cheek remark that is, but let me assure you, I think one of the industries that was always very well developed in India was, as far as I was concerned, was shipbuilding. And I think when you look at the Cholas to the 2nd century to the 7th century, I think they've traveled all over the place. So I think this is one space where I don't think we have to match the best. I think we can meet, we are better than the best that we could actually have. So that's very much true. But thank you very much for a very, very illuminating talk and sharing with us your experience. I now have the privilege to invite Aaron Starks, the CEO and President of 47G, to share with us. He's come from Utah. You being a guest and as Indians, let me say we will accept you respectfully overshooting your time. That is it. Okay, over to you, Aaron. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Each of us a fire to explore the unknown. To push ourselves, to test ourselves, to be the first, the best, the only. Because it's only when the stakes are high, when you put yourself under the heat of consequence and measure success against the unforgiving elements, that we can forge true innovation. Today, American technology is reaching a new frontier. New threats gather like storm clouds. New horizons beckon in the stars. Who will rise to meet them? We will. Here in the mountains and deserts of Utah, a new generation is gathering to challenge the limits of what's possible in the crucibles of cyber, defense, and aerospace. Fostering talent, funding entrepreneurship, and fueling innovation. As the voice of Utah's aerospace and defense community, we're charting an ambitious course to a more prosperous tomorrow. On America's deep tech frontier, we are 47G. Join us.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate that. We have loved being in your beautiful country, and we say that with all sincerity. The hospitality is palpable, the food is incredible, and the culture is very vibrant. And we just appreciate all of you coming together and supporting this trade mission. For us in Utah, we have always looked beyond our borders. We have always looked at buyers, partners, and investors as family, and that has been truly our competitive advantage. We are very collaborative people. And so earlier, former Governor Herbert and Derek Miller, along with Jonathan Friedman, addressed you to talk about Utah. Now, I want to do the same, but I want to do it from the perspective of aerospace and defense. And so we have this legacy where aerospace and defense in a lot of ways built the state of Utah. In fact, going back to about World War II, Utah played a huge role in the overall advancement of U.S. forces in the Asia Pacific. We have an incredible and robust economy built on rocket boosters, on manufacturing of weapons and ammunitions. More recently, we have succeeded in the biotech space within the DoD. And all of this is culminated over about 8 decades to 20% of our state's economic activity. We're one of the largest industries in the state now. And we take a lot of pride in that because aerospace and defense jobs are higher paying, more sustainable, and not tied to venture capital, which means that in times of economic downturn, this market is stable, and we love that this state is tied to a stable market. And so 47G, my organization, is the public-private partner in the state of Utah. We work with Governor Cox. In fact, I'm here representing the governor's office. They're on our board of directors and a founding member of our organization. And under his direction, he was asked by Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop, we all do business here in the state. Why is there not an industry association representing us, convening, promoting, advocating for us? And to his credit and his wisdom, he was the first one to invest in our organization, and I was invited to come and run it. So 47G, the mission of 47G, is to build the world's premier ecosystem for aerospace and defense companies right here in the state of Utah. So we are working with aerospace, defense, cybersecurity, and space exploration companies, and it represents a very sizable portion of our state. Now, I would be willing to say this is similar in other markets around the world. It's certainly the case in the United States, okay? Defense markets are tough for entrepreneurs, highly regulated. There are certain security measures that need to be met along with compliance standards, and all of that is aggravating and grueling. If you are an entrepreneur trying to put food on the table, trying to source capital from private markets that don't have a thesis for aerospace or for hardware is very difficult. And even if you are successful in selling to the DoD or to the federal government, and I imagine that's similar here in India, you still don't know when it'll become a program of record, when you'll receive necessary certifications, or if you ever get a minimum purchase order, right? So for that reason, there's about 40% less entrepreneurs in this space than there were 10 years ago in the United States, which makes that an incredible concern to our national security strategy, especially when some of our other partners are outpacing us technologically. And the pace at which they're innovating is rapid. So we're hyper-focused on doing a couple of really key things. One, helping small to mid-market companies do business with the defense contractors in the space. Boeing, Lockheed, BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, General Atomics all have a very large presence in the state of Utah. We help those companies, along with companies in India, through our office, do business with those companies. That's why we exist. Two, is we have built out a worldwide network of venture capital partners, private equity firms, traditional and non-traditional financing, so that our entrepreneurs can access capital. And so that is one of the reasons we're here too, is we want to help our businesses do that. So a little bit of history and a timeline, if I may. In 1940, one of the world's highest caliber and certainly important U.S. Air Force installations was built in the state of Utah, Hill Air Force Base. It's the largest site employer in the state. It employs about 40,000 civilians every day. And inside and outside the gates of Hill Air Force Base as a growing presence of companies, hundreds of companies now. In fact, there's almost 1,000 aerospace and defense companies statewide. A lot of that is because of Hill Air Force Base. The A-10, the F-22, the F-16, F-18, F-35, all the MRO depots, maintenance facilities, it's all there. And so that has been a huge boon to our economy. In fact, if you were to bifurcate the state of Utah into north and south, and you removed Hill Air Force Base from the state, it would take 20 years for the economy to recover. That's how many billions and billions of dollars in revenue is transacted and brought into the state as a result of that. Dugway Proving, we have the largest test and training range in the entire United States in the West Desert. What we found is that when testing rockets, ballistics, other aircraft, we can put more pounds into orbit at far less cost because of the height, or because of our elevation, than say Cape Canaveral or California and things. So there's a unique competitive advantage there, and we're very proud that Boeing has recently named the Starlink landing site in Utah. So there's great things happening. In addition, Thiokol, we all know Thiokol, which is now Northrop Grumman. Thiokol started in Utah and has created this rich legacy. We competed for the spaceport in 1971. We're still competing for the next space station to be built in the West Desert next to Dugway, as mentioned. And then the NSA is going to double its presence in the state of Utah over the next 5 years. So lots of great things happening. This is an incredible opportunity for Indian companies to work with US-based companies through our office. We want to connect all of the companies we work with. We represent about 900 in total. We have active touch points with almost 200 now. Partnership plans, not just we are aware. We have a partnership plan document with these companies stating their priorities, their goals, what their needs are. We want to connect them with you. We want to transact more business here. That's the reason we're here. So our guiding objectives to convene, promote, and advocate, especially in Utah, but all around the world for our companies. Now, 47G is a very vibrant ecosystem, but what we've done is ecosystems are defined very broadly, but to us it's 4 key pillars. One is industry. We want to work with as many aerospace and defense companies as we can. We want to convene them because there's wisdom in getting entrepreneurs together in the same room. There's a lot of business that can be transacted by being in close proximity to each other. More contracts can be awarded and competed for. 2, state and local government. Utah has the #1 economy in the United States right now. It's the fastest growing, right? We'd mentioned that it's young. We'd mentioned that it's vibrant. It's certainly all of those things. It's that way because industry and our lawmakers work so well together. That's what we're here to do, is convene them so that we're not creating legislation in isolation anymore. That's really important. So we want tax incentives in place so that we can attract your companies to come and have a presence in the state of Utah. And we certainly want to create legislation that's going to advance your technologies. 3 is professional services. Regardless of the size of your company, and this is important for you to know, you still rely on professional services. Supply chain and logistics, tax advisory, auditing, legal advisory, you name it. We've done a great job of bringing professional service providers from all around the country to 47G to help our companies incubate, to help them accelerate their growth. And certainly professional service providers from this country would be welcomed and additive to what we're doing. The 4th is academia. Every university and college in the state of Utah is on our board. And I take a lot of pride in that. We have active agreements with them. And in fact, I'll say this. If you were to start at the top of the state, we have one of 16 university-affiliated research centers with the Department of Defense. The largest small satellite conference in the world is hosted in Logan, Utah. We bring about 60 countries every year to that. Radar, sensor, satellite technology is all being developed by students in a classified environment there. It's incredible. Counter UAS companies, we have a lot of that as we talk about national security, border security, We've got drone manufacturers that are competing in Ukraine right now that are doing great things with South Korea and the DMZ, that are selling into Japan, that have partnership agreements with Toshiba Defense. So that's certainly a growing sector. I'm grateful to have connected with many of you who manufacture drones. And then in addition to that, we've got advanced manufacturing. The United States hub for advanced materials and composites is Utah. We supply more OEMs with advanced materials than any other state in the country. It's incredible. And certainly we want to expand those relationships here. The NSA we talked about with cyber and intelligence technologies. L3 has a very, very sizable presence in Utah. They started in Utah, have since merged with Harris. Now it's L3 Harris, as many of you know. But we're excited about all of the great things happening, coupled with commercial aerospace, the municipal and regional airports, and Delta. Delta just expanded its pilot operations facility in Utah. So more of Utah's future will be influenced by this industry than any other industry over the next 2 decades. There's a lot of momentum right now. Now, the state of Utah has asked us, in partnership with the Department of Transportation, to lead our Advanced Air Mobility Initiative. We want to lead the country in that space. So putting together a plan, a vision, understanding the infrastructural needs and the economic demand, we're putting together a coalition of private sector and public sector leaders with the FAA to announce a plan in preparation for the 2034 Olympics in Utah, so that air taxis are on display, so that there's a commercial and cargo use for them. And we're very, very excited about that. That's one of our core initiatives this year that we're launching, workforce development. Now here's what's interesting. This is the way it is in the United States as well. But as I considered workforce development here, I thought about the average age in this room. And although India's average age is about, the median age is about 29 or 28, and Utah's is about 30, 31 now, in our industry, that's certainly not the case. The majority of our companies are run by men and women, gifted entrepreneurs in their late 40s and even early 50s. So a big part of what we do is working with universities to incubate talent on campuses and market the industry to them more effectively. Because my children, I've got 3 wonderful children, when they enter the workforce, will apply for positions that are not yet created in the workforce yet. And that's the same thing in India. So we have to be hyper-focused on that. Workforce development is incredibly important. We talked about cyber and intelligence. We're working with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We have a partnership with them. We want to advance our partnership. We want to help incubate more technologies. One of our great success stories is Strider, and I'll talk about our members, but recently raised $65 million and have a web scraping technology that is helping Fortune 100 companies protect their intellectual property. It's a great success story. And then aerospace and defense manufacturing as well. So we have about 150 active members. Again, the total available market of companies in Utah is about 900. And so we're grateful for the partnerships that we do have. You'll recognize some of these logos. But then, you know, we're hyper-focused on workforce development as well, developing innovative solutions to bring people into the workforce. And then our Industry Development Coalition, we work with individual cities and counties throughout the state to help them develop plans, because all of them want to invest in aerospace and build their economy around this sector. And then many of our service providers. A few last-minute announcements. This fall, in October, in partnership with one of our premier research institutions in the state, the University of Utah, we have planned a summit, the Zero Gravity Summit. And it's a two-day event. Day one is bringing venture capital firms, private equity firms together with national security advisors and leaders to focus on geopolitical markets and how that's impacting innovation downstream with defense tech. It's very closed door exclusive. If you're interested, I'd love to send you an invite. That's happening at the beautiful University of Utah's Natural History Museum. Day two is an open plenary session. We're speaking with the Director of National Intelligence, the Director of the NSA right now. We're speaking with the executive branch, to convene great stakeholders and private sector leaders like Anduril Technologies, for example. We spoke with their CEO just this week, and we're bringing everyone together for a collaborative forum to talk about the following topics. One, AI chips and nanofabrication. Leading these panels in the university, in partnership with the University of Utah, we have a huge emphasis. We'll be in Taiwan in a month talking about nanofabrication. The University of Utah has put over $100 million into this and recently announced their AI initiative with us for ethical use of AI. Advanced air mobility and drone technologies, we're very close to Boeing. Boeing manufactures 90% of its 787 cockpits in the state of Utah. Cyber and intelligence, we talked a little bit about that. Space and technology, we have an incredible, when we talk about Blue Origin, for example, they got their start in the state of Utah. A lot of the manufacturing engineering preliminary plans were developed there. And certainly some of the testing down the road will be as well. So space exploration, we spend $1 trillion on the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile program between Lockheed Martin, Boeing, BAE Systems, and Northrop Grumman. That's a huge boon for our economy. Northrop's going to add 500 more jobs. Now, 500 is nothing to you. 500 to a state of Utah, 3.8 million, with a 2% unemployment rate. We're wondering how we're going to do it. There's a lot of activity happening. And then our geostrategic competition in defense tech with the Silicon Valley Defense Group. We're planning this with them. And so, and then I mentioned biotech. So there's lots of great things happening. And I'd just like to cordially, warmly invite you to the state of Utah in October to join us then. I think it's a great time to connect with other buyers and investors, potential partners. And you can look me up on LinkedIn. I had 20 cards when I began the day. I now have none. But if you look me up, I'd be happy to respond to messages. And again, thank you for your warm accommodations. It's been a pleasure.
Each of us a fire to explore the unknown, to push ourselves, to test ourselves, to be the first, the best, the only. Because it's only when the stakes are high, when you put yourself under the heat of consequence and measure success against the unforgiving elements, that we can forge true innovation. Today, American technology is reaching a new frontier. New threats gather like storm clouds. New horizons beckon in the stars. Who will rise to meet them? We will. Here in the mountains and deserts of Utah, a new generation is gathering to challenge the limits of what's possible in the crucibles of cyber, defense, and aerospace. Fostering talent, funding entrepreneurship, and fueling innovation. As the voice of Utah's aerospace and defense community, we're charting an ambitious course to a more prosperous tomorrow. On America's deep tech frontier, we are 47G. Join us.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate that. We have loved being in your beautiful country, and we say that with all sincerity. The hospitality is palpable, the food is incredible, and the culture is very vibrant. And we just appreciate all of you coming together and supporting this trade mission. For us in Utah, we have always looked beyond our borders. We have always looked at buyers, partners, and investors as family, and that has been truly our competitive advantage. We are very collaborative people, and so earlier, former Governor Herbert and Derek Miller, along with Jonathan Friedman, addressed you to talk about Utah. Now, I want to do the same, but I want to do it from the perspective of aerospace and defense. And so we have this legacy where aerospace and defense in a lot of ways built the state of Utah. In fact, going back to about World War II, Utah played a huge role in the overall advancement of U.S. forces in the Asia Pacific. We have an incredible and robust economy built on rocket boosters, on manufacturing of weapons and ammunitions. More recently, we have succeeded in the biotech space within the DoD. And all of this is culminated over about 8 decades to 20% of our state's economic activity. We're one of the largest industries in the state now. And we take a lot of pride in that because aerospace and defense jobs are higher paying, more sustainable, and not tied to venture capital, which means that in times of economic downturn, this market is stable, and we love that the state is tied to a stable market. And so 47G, my organization, is the public-private partner in the state of Utah. We work with Governor Cox. In fact, I'm here representing the governor's office. They're on our board of directors and a founding member of our organization. And under his direction, he was asked by Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop, we all do business here in the state. Why is there not an industry association representing us, convening, promoting, advocating for us? And to his credit and his wisdom, he was the first one to invest in our organization, and I was invited to come and run it. So 47G, the mission of 47G, is to build the world's premier ecosystem for aerospace and defense companies right here in the state of Utah. So we are working with aerospace, defense, cybersecurity, and space exploration companies, and it represents a very sizable portion of our state. Now, I would be willing to say this is similar in other markets around the world. It's certainly the case in the United States, okay? Defense markets are tough for entrepreneurs, highly regulated. There are certain security measures that need to be met along with compliance standards, and all of that is aggravating and grueling. If you are an entrepreneur trying to put food on the table, trying to source capital from private markets that don't have a thesis for aerospace or for hardware is very difficult. And even if you are successful in selling to the DoD or to the federal government, and I imagine that's similar here in India, you still don't know when it'll become a program of record, when you'll receive necessary certifications, or if you ever get a minimum purchase order, right? So for that reason, there's about 40% less entrepreneurs in this space than there were 10 years ago in the United States, which makes that an incredible concern to our national security strategy, especially when some of our other partners are outpacing us technologically. And the pace at which they're innovating is rapid. So we're hyper-focused on doing a couple of really key things. One, helping small to mid-market companies do business with the defense contractors in the space. Boeing, Lockheed, BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, General Atomics all have a very large presence in the state of Utah. We help those companies, along with companies in India, through our office, do business with those companies. That's why we exist. Two, is we have built out a worldwide network of venture capital partners, private equity firms, traditional and non-traditional financing, so that our entrepreneurs can access capital. And so that is one of the reasons we're here too, is we want to help our businesses do that. So a little bit of history and a timeline, if I may. In 1940, one of the world's highest caliber and certainly important U.S. Air Force installations was built in the state of Utah, Hill Air Force Base. It's the largest site employer in the state. It employs about 40,000 civilians every day. And inside and outside the gates of Hill Air Force Base is a growing presence of companies, hundreds of companies now. In fact, there's almost 1,000 aerospace and defense companies statewide. A lot of that is because of Hill Air Force Base. The A-10, the F-22, the F-16, F-18, F-35, all the MRO depots, maintenance facilities, it's all there. And so that has been a huge boon to our economy. In fact, if you were to bifurcate the state of Utah into north and south, and you removed Hill Air Force Base from the state, it would take 20 years for the economy to recover. That's how many billions and billions of dollars in revenue is transacted and brought into the state as a result of that. Dugway proving, we have the largest test and training range in the entire United States in the West Desert. What we found is that when testing rockets, ballistics, other aircraft, we can put more pounds into orbit at far less cost because of the height, or because of our elevation, than say Cape Canaveral or California and things. So there's a unique competitive advantage there, and we're very proud that Boeing has recently named the Starlink landing site in Utah. So there's great things happening. In addition, Thiokol, we all know Thiokol, which is now Northrop Grumman. Thiokol started in Utah and has created this rich legacy. We competed for the spaceport in 1971. We're still competing for the next space station to be built in the West Desert next to Dugway, as mentioned. And then the NSA is going to double its presence in the state of Utah over the next 5 years. So lots of great things happening. This is an incredible opportunity for Indian companies to work with US-based companies through our office. We want to connect all of the companies we work with. We represent about 900 in total. We have active touch points with almost 200 now. Partnership plans, not just we are aware. We have a partnership plan document with these companies stating their priorities, their goals, what their needs are. We want to connect them with you. We want to transact more business here. That's the reason we're here. So our guiding objectives to convene, promote, and advocate, especially in Utah, but all around the world for our companies. Now, 47G is a very vibrant ecosystem, but what we've done is ecosystems are defined very broadly, but to us it's 4 key pillars. One is industry. We want to work with as many aerospace and defense companies as we can. We want to convene them because there's wisdom in getting entrepreneurs together in the same room. There's a lot of business that can be transacted by being in close proximity to each other. More contracts can be awarded and competed for. 2, state and local government. Utah has the #1 economy in the United States right now. It's the fastest growing, right? We'd mentioned that it's young, we'd mentioned that it's vibrant. It's certainly all of those things. It's that way because industry and our lawmakers work so well together. That's what we're here to do, is convene them so that we're not creating legislation in isolation anymore. That's really important. So we want tax incentives in place so that we can attract your companies to come and have a presence in the state of Utah. And we certainly want to create legislation that's going to advance your technologies. 3 is professional services. Regardless of the size of your company, and this is important for you to know, you still rely on professional services. Supply chain and logistics, tax advisory, auditing, legal advisory, you name it. We've done a great job of bringing professional service providers from all around the country to 47G to help our companies incubate, to help them accelerate their growth. And certainly professional service providers from this country would be welcomed and additive to what we're doing. The 4th is academia. Every university and college in the state of Utah is on our board. And I take a lot of pride in that. We have active agreements with them. And in fact, I'll say this. If you were to start at the top of the state, we have one of 16 university-affiliated research centers with the Department of Defense. The largest small satellite conference in the world is hosted in Logan, Utah. We bring about 60 countries every year to that. Radar, sensor, satellite technology is all being developed by students in a classified environment there. It's incredible. Counter UAS companies, we have a lot of that as we talk about national security, border security. We've got drone manufacturers that are competing in Ukraine right now that are doing great things with South Korea and the DMZ, that are selling into Japan, that have partnership agreements with Toshiba Defense. So that's certainly a growing sector. I'm grateful to have connected with many of you who manufacture drones. And then in addition to that, we've got advanced manufacturing. The United States hub for advanced materials and composites is Utah. We supply more OEMs with advanced materials than any other state in the country. It's incredible. And certainly we want to expand those relationships here. The NSA we talked about with cyber and intelligence Technologies. L3 has a very sizable presence in Utah. They started in Utah, have since merged with Harris. Now it's L3 Harris, as many of you know. But we're excited about all of the great things happening, coupled with commercial aerospace, the municipal and regional airports, and Delta. Delta just expanded its pilot operations facility in Utah. So more of Utah's future will be influenced by this industry than any other industry over the next 2 decades. There's a lot of momentum right now. Now, the state of Utah has asked us, in partnership with the Department of Transportation, to lead our Advanced Air Mobility Initiative. We want to lead the country in that space. So putting together a plan, a vision, understanding the infrastructural needs and the economic demand, we're putting together a coalition of private sector and public sector leaders with the FAA to announce a plan in preparation for the 2034 Olympics in Utah, so that air taxis are on display, so that there's a commercial and cargo use for them, and we're very, very excited about that. That's one of our core initiatives this year that we're launching, workforce development. Now here's what's interesting. This is the way it is in the United States as well. But as I considered workforce development here, I thought about the average age in this room. And although India's average age is about, the median age is about 29 or 28, and Utah's is about 30, 31 now, in our industry, that's certainly not the case. The majority of our companies are run by men and women, gifted entrepreneurs in their late 40s and even early 50s. So a big part of what we do is working with universities to incubate talent on campuses and market the industry to them more effectively. Because my children, I've got 3 wonderful children, when they enter the workforce, will apply for positions that are not yet created in the workforce yet. And that's the same thing in India. So we have to be hyper-focused on that. Workforce development is incredibly important. We talked about cyber and intelligence. We're working with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We have a partnership with them. We want to advance our partnership. We want to help incubate more technologies. One of our great success stories is Strider, and I'll talk about our members, but recently raised $65 million and have a web scraping technology that is helping Fortune 100 companies protect their intellectual property. It's a great success story. And then aerospace and defense manufacturing as well. So we have about 150 active members. Again, the total available market of companies in Utah is about 900. And so we're grateful for the partnerships that we do have. You'll recognize some of these logos. But then, you know, we're hyper-focused on workforce development as well, developing innovative solutions to bring people into the workforce. And then our Industry Development Coalition, we work with individual cities and counties throughout the state to help them develop plans, because all of them want to invest in aerospace and build their economy around this sector. And then many of our service providers. A few last-minute announcements. This fall, in October, in partnership with one of our premier research institutions in the state, the University of Utah, we have planned a summit, the Zero Gravity Summit. And it's a two-day event. Day one is bringing venture capital firms, private equity firms together with national security advisors and leaders to focus on geopolitical markets and how that's impacting innovation downstream with defense tech. It's very closed door exclusive. If you're interested, I'd love to send you an invite. That's happening at the beautiful University of Utah's Natural History Museum. Day two is an open plenary session. We're speaking with the Director of National Intelligence, the Director of the NSA right now. We're speaking with the executive branch to convene great stakeholders and private sector leaders like Anduril Technologies, for example. We spoke with their CEO just this week. And we're bringing everyone together for a collaborative forum to talk about the following topics. One, AI chips and nanofabrication. Leading these panels in the university, in partnership with the University of Utah, we have a huge emphasis. We'll be in Taiwan in a month talking about nanofabrication. The University of Utah has put over $100 million into this and recently announced their AI initiative with us for ethical use of AI. advanced air mobility and drone technologies, we're very close to Boeing. Boeing manufactures 90% of its 787 cockpits in the state of Utah. Cyber and intelligence, we talked a little bit about that. Space and technology, we have an incredible, when we talk about Blue Origin, for example, they got their start in the state of Utah. A lot of the manufacturing engineering preliminary plans were developed there. And certainly some of the testing down the road will be as well. So space exploration, we spend $1 trillion on the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile program between Lockheed Martin, Boeing, BAE Systems, and Northrop Grumman. That's a huge boon for our economy. Northrop's going to add 500 more jobs. Now, 500 is nothing to you. 500 to a state of Utah, 3.8 million, with a 2% unemployment rate. We're wondering how we're going to do it. There's a lot of activity happening. And then our geostrategic competition in defense tech with the Silicon Valley Defense Group. We're planning this with them. And so, and then I mentioned biotech. So there's lots of great things happening. And I'd just like to cordially, warmly invite you to the state of Utah in October to join us then. I think it's a great time to connect with other buyers and investors, potential partners. And you can look me up on LinkedIn. I had 20 cards when I began the day. I now have none. But if you look me up, I'd be happy to respond to messages. And again, thank you for your warm accommodations. It's been a pleasure.
You mentioned you've got an India office as well, is it? 47G?
Not yet.
Not yet. What I thought, no, the way you said it, I thought maybe you've already established one in the last 1 week that you've been here. But well, super. No, but thank you very much. You did give a great bird's eye view of the activities in the areas where people can resonate straight away. I think it's absolutely outstanding. I remember one of the issues which I think the previous moderator left with me to mention, yes, Tata's has gone into the chip manufacturing, so the fab unit is going to come up in Gujarat, and we're looking at the assembly, packaging, and the testing facility which is coming up in Assam. And as you're aware, in the initial design stage, it's only the TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, which was doing some amount of work in this as far as the design was concerned, as far as chips is concerned. So as you mentioned about the semiconductor thing, I think it would be a great thing to get them to come down there as well. Gentlemen, with the after a very bird's eye view of what's happening in Utah, may I now request Mr. Vignesh Manoharan, CEO of Mano Aircraft, to please come and share his views. We've got one coming in later on for counter drone technology, so that'd be interesting to see, sitting next to you. Okay, over to you, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I thank IIRF team for setting up this conclave and giving me a welcome American delegates from Utah. I hope you guys are enjoying your time here in India. Myself, Vignesh, CEO of Mano Aircraft Private Limited. Just introduce about myself a little bit here. I did my master's in Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University from Daytona Beach, Florida, one of a famous university, privately owned, specialized in aerospace. I have my specialization in composites and then worked there for 8 years in a composite manufacturing company in Michigan. I'm a member of Experimental Aircraft Association, EAA, from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I moved back to India and started this company, Mano Aircraft. So the company is about designing and manufacturing a light sport aircraft from scratch, meaning that we own the IP rights of 2,500 parts, structural parts, bolt, nuts, everything. Everything has been analyzed. All the CFD analysis, all the structural analysis has been done, completed, and the aircraft has been completed with a detailed design and analysis. And this has been done so far. We have an excellent team of directors as well as founding members who have extensive experience with international qualifications as well, heading the company and heading the team. So now I'll present to you what are all our products and what is our vision, and a little bit I'll explain you about the aircraft specification also. First slide, please. No. So, as you guys know, before I come to India, I did a market research from a company called Market & Market, and they forecasted a huge increase in this privately owned aircraft, which is a two-seater, and it's called light sport category in India as well. And it's going to increase drastically, and right now, European market is heading this greatest market share, but between 2025 and 2030, the East Asian market is going to take up on the major market share. And to give you guys an idea, our kit aircraft will look something like that. So in US, most of these aircraft are built in garages. So single person put in maybe like 2,000 hours to 3,000 hours building that aircraft, and they use it for their own commute. These are all the specification of aircraft. This aircraft can fly for 7 hours endurance, and it can fly for 1,500 kilometers. The maximum speed it can fly is 270 kilometers per hour, and the cruise velocity is 222 kilometers per hour. It's a two-seater, and the cool fact about this is it's a tandem seater, front and back. So it has a very sleek and futuristic design which can avoid drag and can fly efficiently for a longer distance. And most importantly, this is made out of advanced materials, which is carbon fiber composites, and it's being manufactured by not a very high-end technology, but a very affordable range, but still you can meet the quality of AS 9100 standards, which will meet FAA standards as well as the EASA standards. This category of aircraft comes under 600 kg, which comes to 1,320 pounds maximum takeoff weight, and you have the empty weight of 340 kg. These are available with non-type certified as well as type certified category to be sold in global market. And right now we do have distributors from Mexico and also a distributor in India who would like to purchase the aircraft once the prototype is made. Apart from the aircraft manufacturing, the company also focuses on composite manufacturing of parts and components. As we already know, a lot of companies in 2023 have signed contracts with European composite manufacturers as well as US composite manufacturers for joint ventures. So all that matters here is TOT, transfer of technology, whereas the difference and the unique selling point for Mono Aircraft is all our directors and people heading the team are already with 20 years, and we even have a person, Mr. Nirmal Singh Munde. He's a prodigy in aircraft design and manufacturing, also in composites. He served as a deputy director of DGCA. We bring in a whole lot of extensive aerospace experience with international standards. We work on monolithic as well as sandwich components in composites. Some of the pictures are shown. I will go dive deep in detail on what are the markets that we are serving as customer-wise right now. So some of the markets that we are serving for customers in composite manufacturing is automotive. India does have a lot of good racetracks, like Sir told, and I come from a place called Coimbatore. We do have a Formula 3 racetrack over there. We make monocoque chassis out of carbon fiber composites. So we do it there, and we already produce certain parts which are being exported into UK for racing. That's happening. We also serve medical customers where these carbon fiber material is used for X-ray tables due to their material properties. We also do propellers. So in India, we are the first company to provide a proof of concept to OEM based out of Europe to manufacture a prototype, which is a composite prototype. And we also started manufacturing our coupon parts for our own aircraft. For example, you can see the middle rib in the wing, and those will be tested for structural competencies like tensile, compression, torsion, and other kind of loads and structural results. So we do have all the mathematical and the software results that will be validated and compared with the experimental test results once we make these samples. And that will be validated for our quality of manufacturing, repeatability of quality, and also our capability to manufacture these parts and what mistakes we are making out of it. All big companies start from a garage. Ours is a startup company which started in a warehouse, and I do know Wright brothers started it in a barn in Dayton, Ohio. Ours started out in a garage, and we are doing pretty good so far. Yes, so to talk more about the kits, it's a traditional approach, and US definitely has more than hundreds of these small aircraft manufacturing companies, especially Midwest. Midwest has a lot of manufacturing companies which are all family-owned businesses, which have 30 to 50 employees, that's it, but they produce at least 10 to 12 aircraft per year, based on the capability, based on the machineries I've seen, and I've traveled across the US and came to know about that. And similar pattern we are following here. We do have 3 types of kits: quick build kits, a normal kit, and a fully assembled aircraft. Of course, with the quick build kit, you can build the aircraft very soon. Normal kit takes quite longer time than the quick build kit, and we also provide fully assembled aircraft that can be customized for multiple applications. Okay, so we are raising funds at this stage, and recently we have closed a contract with Canadian government. Just like I had a talk with Aaron here, there are several economic development agencies in Canada which they've selected Mano Aircraft to set up a facility in their soil and to manufacture parts, because they attract lot of composite manufacturing and technologies coming from India. So we are really looking forward for cooperation and collaboration with Utah, state of Utah, and delegates to set up a factory over there. And advanced composite manufacturing, like I said, composite manufacturing is really booming in India, and a lot of products are being manufactured in India right now on composites. You can take metro railways, you can take windmill blades, you name it, and even in a tennis racket, composite parts has come. And in India, everything is all about the bulk manufacturing and also the quality and standards you meet. We also have experienced directors who have knowledge and trainings from FAA and EASA that makes our life a lot simpler, so that we get our parts qualified in-house before, and also we get to know what to do to qualify the parts structurally, quality-wise, as well as process-wise. And we are also trying to build the flying infrastructure in India, and we all know the buying capability in India has grown quite a lot, and the cost of this aircraft is equivalent to a luxury car that's available in Indian market right now. So we are really trying to use this opportunity to provide this kind of adventure sport and flying infrastructure to Indian market as well as to global market, showcase our capability of aircraft manufacturing to a global market. Yeah, this is again, these are the areas we would like to work. Any opportunities and collaboration, we are eagerly waiting for it. We have good aircraft designers, and our aircraft can also be used for fixed wing UAVs, and we are also would like to see what opportunities we can explore for composite manufacturing. That's it from my side, and really thank you guys for this opportunity, and I hope you guys enjoy your day today. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great job. Thanks. Vignesh, thank you very much, and I think compliments to you, I think, for having started such an initiative, outstanding work. And I wish you luck now as far as what you're looking at as far as Canada is concerned. Good to see that. May I now request for the Professor Kadambi, Pro Vice Chancellor of Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences. He looks after the technology developments, also the defense R&D relationships out there. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon to one and all distinguished delegates from USA, fellow citizens, and dear friends. At the outset, it is a great opportunity for me to be before you just to share now some of the R&D and the technology initiatives from Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences. General asked me to briefly tell something about me. So I'm a graduate of University of Mysore. I did my MS and PhD from IIT Madras with specialization in antenna engineering. Then I was there in ADA, Aeronautical Development Agency, for about 6 years. Then between 1994 and 2006, I was in Canada and USA, predominantly in USA for about 11 years. I returned back in 2006. Since then, I have been with our university. Okay, this is something about me briefly. Okay. So what I would like to briefly, present before you is now the technology developments at our university, that is Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, or we abbreviate as RUAS. So there are 4 avenues in which we are contributing. It's in academic departments. We have Techno-Center Engineering, TCE. We have Ramaiah Technology Business Incubator, RTBI. And also we have a Composite Research Center. Because of paucity of time, I would like to restrict myself to the major contributions from Techno-Center Engineering, Ramaiah Technology Business Incubator, and Composite Research Center. Something about our university. In fact, Ramaiah Group of Institution is very well known across the globe. Formally, it is called Gokula Education Foundation. Our Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences is a state-private university. Obviously, it has to have a sponsoring body, and our sponsoring body is Gokula Education Foundation Medical. And the history of Gokula Education Foundation dates back to 1962, where I started with engineering college, Didan Engineering College. Now, over the last 60 years, it has blossomed, and we are having more than 23 institutions, actually. The founder chairman was led Dr. M.S. Ramaiah, and now Dr. M.R. Jairam, who is the chairman of Gokula Education Foundation, is also the chancellor of our university. This is a brief. And as a comprehensive university, in fact, we cover all domains of knowledge, except, I should say, agricultural engineering. We have all branches of the technology and the knowledge here. So our university has got 13 faculties or school or colleges, what we call. Predominantly what I am going to tell is the contribution from Faculty of Engineering Technology. So just a few things about the Faculty of Engineering Technology. So we offer the undergraduate programs in all disciplines virtually, starting from conventional civil engineering to aerospace and automotive. And we also offer 13 programs in masters. We're carrying to the VLI side to automotive to aerospace. And we also have the PhD programs. And now our university also has got a School of Medicine, which is also contributing very significantly to the biomedical engineering in general. Now, let me briefly tell about the Techno-Center Engineering. Techno-Center Engineering of our university, it can be called as a industrial consultancy and R&D center of our university. What we have done so far, the TCE or Techno-Center Engineering was established in the year 2000. before being the part of the university, that is the Faculty of Engineering Technology, it was called Ramaya School of Advanced Studies. Actually, we were partnering with Coventry University, UK, for award of degree primarily in engineering and management. Then we had the business model apart from the conventional degree awarding aspects of a university or institution. At that time, the sponsoring body and the management thought, apart from the degree, we should also have certain other verticals. The two major verticals at that time, what the School of Advanced Studies did start, was the Techno Center, that is industrial wing of the institution. Apart from that, the School of Advanced Studies also did set up what is called a Directorate of Training and Lifelong Learning. So Mr. Aaron was telling about the workforce development actually. No, that really, that is, I'm not talking about that right now, but I would like to place on record, correct now, this Directorate of Training and Lifelong Learning has trained more than 45,000 delegates in our country over the last 22 years actually. Okay. Now, coming back to the school, the Techno Center Engineering, so we offer the technology solution and guidance, and the main clients are mainly the DRDO labs, public sector undertakings, industry, business R&D, as well as individuals and entrepreneurs. So just I would like to reconnect it back to 47G, what Mr. Aaron told actually. In fact, we have something similar to that actually. We have the connection to industry, we work with local state government, we work with the central government, we work industry, and obviously as an academic institution, our primary stakeholder is the students. Okay. And over the last 20 years, we have completed successfully 140 projects from basically DRDO. And we have also executed more than 600 projects for public sector undertaking, and about 150 projects for SME and MSME. So as a collaborative work, we filed 11 patents. We have got 17 joint patents granted. Some of them are US patents also. And we have also delivered what we call 10 technology transfer of technology here. So the main activities of the Techno Center can be broadly categorized into the 5 here. Here when you say product design and development, we have a very strong force in industrial product development. That means right from sketching to design thinking to ergonomics. So we undertake in that aspect actually. Then we have the mechanical sciences division, which has got expertise in very many aspects of broadly mechanical sciences, whether it is a structural analysis, computational fluid dynamics, heat transfer analysis, multi-body dynamics, electronic system cooling, that's mainly for thermal management, and also the shape optimization. Weight and shape optimization is also one of the aspects we take. When it comes to electronic system development, it includes embedded programming, hardware design and development, including the PCBs, and electronic part design, and circuit simulation and testing, assembly and integration and testing. Of course, as we are closely associated with our sister medical institution, of course, many times the physicians and the doctors, they do approach with some ideas, and our engineers at the Techno Center, they take that concept to some feasibility of a product actually. Now, just coming back to where we have been working with the various DRDO labs, Microwave Tube Research Center and Compact Vehicle Division in Chennai, Gas Turbine Research Establishment in Bangalore, Naval Physical and Ocean Laboratory there in Cochin, Naval Sciences and Technology Laboratory, Visakhapatnam, Defense Avionics Research Center, now called CASIDIC in Bangalore, LRD, that is Electronics and Radar Development, Defense Bioengineering and Electromedical Laboratory, that is called DEBEL, and we are also working with IIRF Base Depot. Apart from that, we have also worked with Aeronautical Development Agency. Then coming back to the main public sector undertakings where we have contributed and collaborated, BL, Bangalore, particularly the Naval Systems Division of BL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Bangalore, Bharat Earthmovers Limited Mysore, and HMT Machine Tools, Cochin. These are some of the important public sector things where we have collaborated during the last 20 years. And we also have, because we are located in Pune, one of the largest industrial hub in Asia, I should say. So we also cater to the needs of many of the small and medium-scale industries. Some of them are contributing very significantly to many of our national programs, and we do offer whatever services they require from Techno Center. So just to tell the growth trajectory of Techno Center, as I told you, we started in 2000, and between 2000 and 2005, we executed 81 projects, predominantly from Government of India, and then 116 projects during the next 7 years. Between 2015 and 18, we can say 179 projects and 144 projects. That's what I told you about, 550 projects and 140 projects from there. And in the process, of course, we also have certain distinctions, actually. So we have also been designated as a nodal design center for military airborne R&D. We have received the best project for DRDO enclave for our bionic arm from our Honorable Minister of Defense. And we have also won first prize innovative design award during the MAV training and flying competition. And what is our goal? Actually, in fact, apart from the many R&D and technology initiatives what we have, so we also are interested in the development of state-of-art center for skilled workforce. Actually, this is one of the ideas. And also we want to build a sustainable center which will run in self-pilot mode, actually, in fact, as a self-reliant. And these are some of the clients which are already discussed in detail. Now, where we are recognized here within India, of course, we have got the certification CIMILAC for in the field of aerostructure, engine, propulsion device design and analysis for military aircraft, as well as communication systems. And we've also got the recognition certificate from BEL as one of their collaborative R&D center for military standard equipment. We have selected design analysis, and we also certification from DSIR Delhi. And in 2018, our university was also recognized as the nodal design center for military airborne R&D activities. To the best of my knowledge, probably we are the second to IIT Delhi, actually, in fact. So just to briefly tell about some of the projects what we have indicated. I won't take much time. This is one of the projects which you have completed recently for the automatic lifting of mechanism for advanced lightweight torpedo. That means what it required 8 sailors to do the job. So our engineers have gone from this thing, and then it has been almost automated, except that now it requires only 1 sailor to do the job, and it has been tested actually in the sea. Then we also have the military grade planetary gearbox for underwater application. This is a part of a wrench what we normally use. Again, and this is one of the important projects what we have done actually. In fact, we have developed a software which can be used both by private and government organization, where given the engine size, given the stall torque, given the flatness of the flatness ratio, actually the software comes with a configuration for the transmission system, and the efficiency of the reconfiguration system has been compared with the available torque converters from other countries, actually, and checked in our design is slightly 3 to 4% better in efficiency than the other design. Okay. Then we also have that our team is very good in thermal management. This is one of the project work what we have done for engine cooling system. Then we have also carried out some of the projects for both mechanical thrust vectoring as well as for the fluid thrust vectoring. Then we have also undertaken a lot of projects for this mounts, particularly something like a shock absorbers. These are all some of the things what we have done for naval applications actually. And these again done for a commercial private entity, but without loss of generality. This can also be used for any military application where, depending upon the the condition of the road, actually, it senses and we can change the viscosity and then we can make the corrections. And as I told, like this was the electronic war system for Indian Navy, Air Force and Army. We got many projects in this direction. I want to just say that is structural design, optimization, thermal management of electronic warfare equipment. And yesterday we have completed one more project for one of the DRDO. Again, for one of the ongoing project, we also developed a 5 kilowatt BLDC generator for an ongoing project at that time. And this is what I told you, that is, we have been working with the DRDO lab for the development of bionic arm for the amputees, actually. So we have executed 3 projects in appreciation of the ongoing work, actually, in fact. So the DRDO did invite us to receive the award from our Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, and we have filed 2 joint patents with the DRDO. And we also contributed very significantly to Soldier Adept Network. Generally, you are talking about Adept Network, actually. In fact, we have given a customized protocol which is valid for Soldier Adept Network. And as a part of that project, 2 more aspects were there. One is the complete development of what we call mass storage device. It's almost like a USB, but with many requirements which are from security aspects for DRDO. And we also have done a tabletop hemostatic drug release system in case of exigencies of a wounded soldier to stop the bleeding. And we have also carried out extensive studies both on what we call MAVs and other aspects of it, actually. And we have executed many projects under what we call as a national project on MICAVs, actually. So we have done autonomous navigation of MAVs, and also, in fact, what you call one of the project is how to track the design feature. Suppose if somebody gives a fence, when it stops the fence, that you should also indicate. That is what we call feature tracking algorithms we developed, and we have demonstrated it. So these are some of the things what we have got: the tunnel navigation, autonomous navigation. And we also have very good composite research center, actually. So in association with Valdel Technology, actually, in fact, we have undertaken a lot of projects for Government of India in collaboration with Valdel Technology, which has got the state-of-the-art fabrication, testing, and verification facility. So these are some of the things now what we have done to replace the metal parts to the composite parts for various funding agencies. This is something which we have done for a bulletproof jacket, lightweight bulletproof jacket, actually. In a shortest possible time, we have produced this. So these also, again, submarine applications, composite lab, and just look at the TDM. Then this is something what as a nodal technology center for Indian Air Force, actually. So we re-engineered, we redesigned some of the subsystems required for electronics warfare. Then some digital beamforming required for the future generation fighter aircrafts. So there are a couple of ongoing projects what the Techno Center and University is there. Process parameter for hybrid composites, performance evaluation of influent flame retardant, anti-vibration mounts using nanofluids. What I showed you previously is microfluid. We are also undertaking some projects on nanofluids. And out of autoclave composite manufacturing, design development of health monitoring system for aero engines, first of its kind in India, definitely. And design and development of include board for Bofors gun, and design and development of altimeter antenna, and something more towards many of the I should say, aero aircraft and others, actually. So we have also started something on the ground station to infuse a lot of interest to our students. We have our own. So we have also helped our universities to contribute to many of the ongoing projects at Indian Air Force. So before I conclude, I will only say, actually, in fact, so why we are here or why I'm here is, we can be collaborators, we can be R&D partners, we can be designers, we can be knowledge partners, or more importantly, we can also associate with anybody for skill and workforce development. I profusely thank Major General Prasad, actually, in fact, was the person who did introduce us to this IIRF. Again, I thank you one and all for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Great expose of the activities that you're doing. But may I just say one thing, which is actually the greatest challenge, though this is not the seminar for it, but I think academia today really needs to look at the impact of climate change that's happening. Mitigation strategies, sustainability towards development, I think that should be a great focus. I just visited the New South Wales University in Australia. So today, using the electronic waste, they're actually taking out copper wires which are being utilized. So I think the large number of projects that we require, other than technology today, needs to go into which is your next big threat. As per the plans, Bangladesh assessment as per their Bangla plan or Mujib plan 2030 and the 2100 Delta plan, they're going to be 40 million climate refugees who are going to move out from Bangladesh. And this is across the Indo-Pacific, the Indian Ocean littoral. They're all going to come in here. So I think along with this, when you're looking at composites, please get into how we can look at circular economy to actually really propound that and take it ahead. That's the area for future. I'm on the board of 1 or 2 universities, so I do keep ensuring that this is an area which needs to be looked at. But thank you very much, everybody here, for being really patient and having given a very patient hearing to everybody. Thank you all. And, before I come to the end of my session, we have one more person who's actually doing something which is very exciting as far as defense is concerned, counter-drone strategies. May I request Shivaji Jamal Madugu, sorry if I've got the wrong name. He's the Chief Sales Officer for Indrajal, and as I was told, he's coming here on short notice. So we've seen what counter-drone is there. The Jugaad, which General Kapoor talked about, we're seeing it in the Russia-Ukraine war, isn't it? You've suddenly seen these T-90 tanks who've suddenly got this wire mesh there to deal for loiter munitions. So I think the Jugaad has gone, but I think we need something more as far as counter-drones are concerned. And I think one area where I've been hearing about from some of the companies outside is this issue of non-GPS based capability for giving the loiter munitions and the ISR drones capacity to be able to operate. And this I was told was being done by a startup in Armenia, whom I engaged with about a week back. So it's quite exciting to see the aim for counter-drone strategy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. I think everybody is waiting just to finish the show now, the end of the day. Thank you for this opportunity to speak at the most important forum, IIRFA, and I thank Colonel Ravi. I can't see him anywhere. He's the one who brought me here. So why we are talking about counter-drone today? If you look at the conflicts that are going on right now across the world, whether it is Israel or whether it is Russia, whether it is even India, you can see that a lot of things are happening because of the drones, wherein you don't need to spend anymore lot of money for the transport of things that you can deliver, whether it's drugs, ammunition, explosives. You can do it with a very low cost device called a drone. And now the drones are so precise, they can go and target a tanker worth few $1 million with a small drone costing only $20,000, and a missile to hit a drone may cost also $1 million. So you need something that can actually beat a $20,000 worth of ammunition with another $20,000 worth of another ammunition, or cheaper than that. Otherwise you are spending, economically the war is not favoring you at all. This is exactly what's happening in most of the countries where the war is rightly So what are the fundamental challenges that we are facing right now in this market where the drones are dominating the wars? So every day there are new models of drones, new communication technologies they are using, new chips they are using, so that they cannot be found with conventional systems which detect. And what are the existing counter-drone technologies? These are all again standalone systems which are deployed as a standalone system for countering. So you do not know in a central command what's going on at different sites. And then many people think that radars can actually give you the complete visibility of the incoming air threats, but actually it's not when it comes to drones, because drones are sometimes as small as a sparrow, and a radar cannot distinguish whether it's a drone or whether it's a bird. So that's the reason it's not only the solution. Then coming to laser weapons, which are being used in many countries, including India, to counter the drones, is also not a feasible solution. Reason is that you cannot operate a laser gun in every area, excluding the borders where you're authorized to kill. But inside the civilian areas where, for example, you have an airport, the flights are landing and taking off, and the drones come on the runway, and then you need to close the airspace. A 1 minute closure of airspace at Dubai airport cost them $100,000, and they have been closing since 2017, almost 30 minutes to 2 hours sometimes, and they're taking that loss. So is Heathrow Airport also, and many other airports. We are actually seeing in the last 3 months, if you Google it, you'll find that there are more than 3 or 4 incursions of drones in Bangalore airport itself. And also that if you look at the Saudi Aramco, there was an attack with drone, and they actually killed some people basically, and the loss of revenue was more than few $100 million because of the refinery being hit with a drone, which has cost maybe $500,000. Yeah, and so countermeasures that exist. One of them is also jammers, which is again not a feasible solution, because if you deploy a jammer, you have critical communication that is happening at the borders or at the airports, at the refinery. You actually are jamming your own friendly network as well when you run a jammer. And swarm attacks, which are again another new deployment of weaponry, that is basically sending what happened actually in Israel, for example. They sent hundreds of drones, swarm drones, targeted at the base of each of the communication towers, and this went in one go. So they could not communicate about the incidents that's happening at the place because all the communication was down. So swarm drones are going to be biggest threats also. And you cannot jam a swarm drone because it's a swarm wherein if one queen fails, the other one will take out as a redundant. So all these challenges, Indrajal is the company which we have, where we have developed a solution for these kind of problems, which are not addressable by conventional technologies. We cover the entire spectrum, just to give you a lead, that from nano to large drones. We can cover the entire spectrum of drones, right from detection, tracking, and countermeasures. So this is, again, the same graphical representation of what we do. I just don't want to take too much of time. I understand everybody is time. So we developed 12 technologies. We developed some 12 technologies. Basically, these are Green OS, Def OS, and these are the software platforms, and including the grid, global grid, what we call it as, and then the surrounding hardware, so that you don't need to be dependent on only one technology or two technologies to solve your problems. So we created a hypersensing, for example, which is basically a combination of multiple sensors that can be used to detect, track, and identify a drone as a threat. And then you can create the mitigation of the drone using available weaponry. And all this is done through autonomously using our software platform, wherein the operator can be in the loop or over the loop. So the system can take a decision based on the incoming threat, identify it, friend or foe, okay, what kind of frequency it's operating, whether he is remotely controlled, not remotely controlled, then we can take another action. The zombie drone is what we created, which is something like a kamikaze drone, which can go and hit the incoming drone if the drone is not emitting any RF signals, so you cannot jam it. In that case, you can send a zombie drone and it can actually hit the drone, incoming drone. And you can use any conventional available drones in the market, and as long as they are allowed to program, because you need to send it to the location where the incoming drone is, following its flight path and trajectory. So we can do everything autonomously from our software. So this is the differentiator, and then we are vendor agnostic, means we don't have any dependency on single hardware manufacturer. We can integrate with anybody in the market. We actually have integrated the hardware from Israel, hardware from made in India, hardware made from Europe, made in Eastern Europe, made in USA. So many partners what we work with are all manufacturers of the hardware, most of them, and we integrate with our software. And we also got approvals from the local government regulatory authority in India for our solution. So these are the certain things that we already talked about. Global Grid is our basically the C2 platform interface, wherein you can actually see visually what is going on from each of your sites. And we have created the wireless mesh network, we call it as a hyper mesh, wherein we can actually connect multiple these sites, and you can see in a single platform what's happening across your deployments of sensors, weapons. So you have complete visual of the complete system's performance, and in case if you have to stop an incoming threat, wherein your existing weapon is engaged, you can actually deploy it from another nearest location, and this decision is not necessarily to be taken manually and can be done automatically by the system itself. So that kind of SOPs we can define, and it will automatically perform. And we work, just don't go with only one sensor. Depending upon your threats that you are facing in your area, you can define, or we can define for you what kind of sensors you can use. And the best part is that if the customer says that, yes, I have certain hardware that I want to use it with, we don't want to buy again new one, we can develop the interface. That's the beauty of the system. So we have the open platform, we have the capability to develop interfaces. We did actually weapon modeling for the government here, for the forces. Couple of weapon models have been done, wherein you can actually, when you detect an incoming threat, you can actually fire the missile, if you wish to use the missile, and it can exactly follow the path that it needs to follow to hit the target. Now we are developing the second phase of that same weapon modeling as well. And we definitely are working with some American companies, and we are also interested to, as I discussed with Aaron, some of the companies that are into that space, with whom we can actually discuss also to bring in their technology and sell our technology to them, and set up a collaborative approach. So in this zombie drone I already explained, so I don't want to take much of your time. These are all, like, we are working with different segments of the market. It's not just defense. Defense is, of course, the major user of drone technology. As you can see, that a lot of incursions that is happening from across our borders. The force, they send us a lot of consignments which you don't need. Yeah, so we need to ensure that we stop them. That's it. I think I finished. Thank you.
General, you've come to the end of this. We're sitting here, the speakers as well as the audience. Let's give a big hand to ourselves for having sat through at this stage. But that, of course, does not downplay the kind of inputs and the kind of information that has been shared by the speakers. Absolutely outstanding, and compliments to all of you. Thank you very much. And with this, we come to the end of the session. The good news, gentlemen, is that we might have tea. And the better news after that is that there's only one speaker in the next session. Great. So all the very best. Thank you very much.